Hello, Klaus here, and welcome back to yet another video here at the channel. In today's video, we are going to create a very simple cartoon ghost. And I did do a video similar to this where I used PNG files, but I always talk about how DaVinci Resolve can do everything. So that's what I figured I would do. I'm going to create everything inside of DaVinci Resolve. I'm going to do the drawing, I'm going to do the animation, and I'm also going to give it some kind of a cartoonish 70s look. At least that's what I am going to try to do. And that's what this video is going to be all about. Oh, by the way, it is October, so if you're watching this later, the deals might not be here. But right now, we are having some pretty good deals on the homepage. Link will be down in the description. It is the Halloween deal or Halloween sale we're doing. So have a look if you want VHS tape overlays, scratches, all kind of overlays and things for your creative filmmaking mind. Take a look at that down in the description below, of course, and let's just jump right into the tutorial of this video. Let's start to create a cartoon ghost from scratch.
Okay, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve, and let's just get started by doing this ghost animation from start to finish in Fusion. So first off, we'll need to go up to our effects library, and I'm going to take a Fusion composition, putting that down to the timeline, clicking on it, and just jumping into Fusion. Here we are in Fusion, and we have a media out. And to make this effect, I'm going to use two backgrounds. The second background here, I don't care about that yet. The first background, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go up to the alpha channel, and I'm going to make this transparent by going up to the inspector and then going into the background and in the alpha and just turning that all the way down. So if I click on 1 on the keyboard, we have a transparent background. Okay, I'm just going to shut down the media pool for now, and also the inspector just for a second. So first we are going to create our ghost, and we're going to do that by adding in a background again, clicking on that background, going up to the inspector, and we're going to change the color into, let's say, white, because a ghost are supposedly white. So we're going to change this into a white background, and I'm going to take a circular mask or an ellipse, and I'm going to put that into the input in the background. I'm going to push 1 on the keyboard so I can see what I'm doing. Selecting the mask, and now I can just drag this into some kind of a ghost-like shape or the shape of an egg. Well, that would work too. That is the first. This is the size of our ghost and how that is going to basically look. The next thing, I'm going to take another background, going to take a ellipse again, going to connect that to the background. I'm just going to push 1 on the keyboard, and now I'm going to go to the ellipse. I'm going to change the size of that to something this, I guess, and I'm just going to change the color as well. So I'll go into the background. I'm going to change the color again into white. So I'm going to connect in this case, this is 1 arm. So I'm going to connect that to the background. That's going to add in a merge node. So that is what we have here. So, and I'm going to connect the body background into the merge 1, and that is going to add in another merge. So now if I go here and push 1 on my keyboard, I have these 2, which is what I want. For now, I'm just going to add this to the media out, actually. I'm going to push 2 on the keyboard on the media out so I can actually see what I'm doing. Right now, they're on top of each other, so I can't really see what I'm doing. However, I'm going to take a transform, and I'm going to put that in the arm, ghost arm here. I'm going to select that. So now I can move the hand here out, and I can take this handle here and I can move, as you see, right, something like this, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to go into the pivot point in the transform with the arm selected. I'm going to change that because I want to do a rotation. So I'm going to change the pivot point so it's on the edge here. And I'll go back to the transform, and I'm just going to move the arm here. So it's around here, and then I can go into the transform, and in the, for instance, the angle, I can animate the movement here. So that is what I am going to do. So I'm going to go to the beginning of the timeline, and in the angle, I'm going to put in a keyframe. And then, it's just going to go for that wild, let's say around frame 80. I want the angle to be this. So, and then, at the end, I want the hand to be down again. So now we have done a little animation. Not a big one, but a little one. So the hand is moving like this and then going down. And that is the first thing I want to do. So if I then go into the merge here, I could go up to the spline editor and give it a bit of, let's say, transform. I'm going to push this icon right here. So it zooms into my points, and I'm just going to highlight those like so. And I'm just going to click here on smooth. So now we have like a smoother animation on the hand. Very simple, like that. Cool. I'm going to close down the spline editor. I'm going to copy everything by highlighting everything. Command C, and then click at the dash here and Command V. So now I have two hands and it's still selected here. So I'm just going to push Shift and I can put it right in here. Now we have two hands, but they're on top of each other, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to the merge, and in the merge, I'm going to flip the image for the second hand. So now it's at the other side. So now we should have 2 times the same animation like this. Wow, that's what we want. Last thing to do with this part, because now we have basically done the ghost. I want to give it another shape, and I can do that by just taking a polygon. And I'm just going to mask maybe something like this, for now at least. Make a mask. I'm going to take the output of my polygon and put that into the merge here, and that is the ghost body. So I'm going to do that. And now everything went wrong. That's because we need to go into the polygon, and we are just going to invert what we did. So now we have done a little shape here. So it has a different shape, basically. So that is basically, we might as well just soften the edges just a little bit, not that much, something like that. So basically we have now done the shape or the body of the ghost. I'm going to show you a little trick. If you push Shift spacebar, we're going to have this menu up here, and I'm going to go UND, and we have here a underline. So I'm going to double click on the underline, and the underline is actually just a way to organize our stuff. And that's actually what I want to do. So I want to organize our ghost. This is our ghost. Now we can move everything around like that. And if we push function F2 on Mac, we can rename. On PC, it's just F2, but ghost body. Yeah. And now we could rename all of the backgrounds and stuff. We are not going to do that. We just have the ghost right in here. So next thing to do would be to make eyes, I guess. So let's quickly do that. We're going to make it the same fashion. We're going to take a background. We're going to take a ellipse, and we're just going to connect these together. I'm going to push to 1 on the keyboard, selecting the ellipse, and then we're just going to make it, it's going to be very small, but we need to connect this on top of our ghost, and we do that by adding in another merge node. So we're going to add in a merge, and we can put in a transform, so we can actually control the eye. So I'll go up in the size in the transform. I'm going to make this way much smaller. I'm going to put that where I think it will make sense. Maybe there. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's pretty good. So let's do a little detail as well. So I'm going to make a little spot here in the eye just to make it look a little more alive. And we're going to do that the same way. I'm going to add in a background, changing the color into, let's say, white. Say, okay, adding in another ellipse. So I'm going to add that in. Going to take a transform, and in the transform I'm going to size that down, very much down indeed. Going to move it up here, still way too big. So something like that. I'm going to put that in the corner of the eye, and I'll go into the ellipse, and in the ellipse I'm just going to go into soft edge, and I'm going to soften this bit. So now we have a eye. What I then want to do is actually I'm going to take everything, and again I'm going to do a copy of this. Again, Command C, going out to the grid, Command V, and now I have everything. And if I push Shift, I can then put this in between everything, like so. So it didn't take this one, but I'll just select that, put Shift, just put that in, and then connect it again. So there we are. Now we have 2 of the same thing. All I then need to do is to go into the transform. I'm going to flip the image. Whoop, 1. I'm going to go to the other transform and flip the image. So now we have the eyes here. So I'm going to add in a UND again, Control Spacebar, add UND. I'm going to make it longer, a little higher. I'm just going to drag that in here just to organize everything a little bit. And I'm going to move my media out a bit. And again, I can just quickly rename this by going function f2, ghost eyes. Yeah, there we go. And then it's going to ask me the same thing again about renaming everything. I'm not going to do that for the sake of this tutorial. I'm just going to say okay to everything. It's a lot of different notes, but it makes sense. So one thing you could do actually again is to right click on the underlay, and we could go in and we could actually set a color. So for instance, I want this to be yellow. So it's going to be way easier to see what you're doing and what the different things are. So we're going to make the last element here in our composition, and I'm just going to go in and take another background. And this time I'm going to keep it a black background. I'm going to take another ellipse, I'm going to connect that. Then we're just going to put that into the merge in the eye. So it's going to add in another merge node. And in the ellipse, this time I'll go from the width, I think, and I'm going to play around with the height, something like that, a little more, something like that. Personally, we have a mouth here. So now I'm just going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take in another background. I'm going to change the color of the background to, let's say, some kind of a reddish. Let's take red background. So I'm going to create a tongue, just going to use an ellipse again, connect that, and then I'm going to connect this to the merge number 5, and it's going to add in another layer. Again, we can do this with the height and width, and then we would go into the size of everything. Need to make it a little like that, I think. I'm going to take a transform. I'm going to add that in. And now I just really want to make this way smaller. Okay, I'll go back to the ellipse and I'm going to go into the width here. So we're making a tongue, and the idea here is the tongue should come out from the ghost mouth here. So I have my tongue here, and I want to make sure that the tongue actually is a front layer. So in this case, I'm going to push right on my mouse, and I'm going to right click on my mouse, and I'm going to drag down, let go, and I'm making sure that this is a foreground element. So now I can go up here into the center and I can move this tongue here around. And what I want to do is actually I know this looks stupid right now, but I'll give you a little trick in a sec. So let's say I want this tongue here to be hit. The ghost isn't really doing anything with the tongue yet, but I wanted to do it when you think it's going to say boo. So around this frame here, I'm going to put a keyframe in the center of the tongue. And then it's going to go to 4 frames or so, and then the tongue is going to come that, and then it's just going to do like that for a while, and I'm going to put in another keyframe here at 90, and then a couple of 8 frames later, this is going to disappear. So I know if you look at it now, it looks stupid, but we are going to use in this case, let's just use a mask here, just a rectangle. I'm going to take the rectangle and I'm going to add that into the merge of the tongue into the blue input, because now we are going to do a mask input. So I'll go up here and I'll invert my mask input. I'm going to move this up here where the mouth is. And now we can't really see it until it comes out. So here we go. There we go. Mouth added into our ghost. Cool. So now we basically have a ghost moving, but it doesn't really look like a ghost. So let's quickly make it look a little more like a ghost. Okay, so I'm going to add in a little bit of ghost effect here. I'm going to move everything just a little bit. I'm going to zoom in again here. So let's say we have the hands and basically the body and hands. That's what we have in these two. And I want to add, like, maybe I will add in a drop shadow. So I'm going to push spacebar and shift to right drop shadow. So I'm going to add in a drop shadow. I'm going to put that in between here. So now we have a little bit of drop shadow, and we can go up in the inspector and change the strength if we want to, the angle and the drop distance. We can change that a little bit, something like that. We can blur that, and we can take down the strength a little bit, I think, something like that. So now we have a drop shadow on the ghost. What I also think is that ghosts, they kind of glow. So I'm going to add in a glow. So I'm going to do the same again. Shift spacebar, and I'm going to type in glow. So let's just take this glow. I'm going to add that in, and I'm going to go in and change the glow size. So maybe like that, but I'm going to take out the red color. I'm going to take out the blue color, and now it's green. So I think it's going to be like a green glow, something like, and we're not going to make it too crazy, just a little. I'll go into the blend mode as well, so we can do something like that. A little glow does a lot. Great. Then I would like this ghost to actually do some kind of a movement or floating. So in this case, I'm going to add in another little effect. I'm going to, again, push Shift Spacebar, and I'm going to write waviness. I'm going to add that in, and now I put that at the end. So I'm going to disconnect that. I'm going to take the waviness here, and I'm going to add that in by pushing Shift and just letting go. And now that looks really bad. So I'm going to select the node, go up to the inspector, and in the inspector, I'm going to change the scale really long time, way down, something like that. The strength also. And we could also change this from vertical to horizontal. So it's going like up and down instead, like that. Yes. And we can change the phase a little bit up, something like that. So now we have a floaty ghost here like that. Cool. So for now we have a ghost and with no background. So I actually want to add in a background on the ghost. So I'm just going to zoom a little bit here. This is where the second background I had actually came into place. So I'm going to take the output of my ghost here. I'm just going to disconnect that. And then I'm going to take the media out, and I'm going to connect the background I did, which is just a black background. I'm going to connect that to the media. Okay. And now I'm just going to go up to the media pool actually, and I have a photo here. I'm going to take that photo, closing the media pool. I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit so we can see that if I push one on the keyboard, that is what I have. Okay. So I'm going to add this into the second background I added. So now we have this picture here, and I'm just going to add in a transform, and then I'm just going to size this up because I want to make it fill the entire screen, something like that. I'm going to move it up, maybe something like that. Okay, so now we have a background here, and then I'll go all the way back here to the waviness I had. So this is all of my ghost here, and it's ending with this waviness effect. I'm going to drag. Actually, maybe I can just move my background a little. There's really a lot of, I'm using a lot of space. So let's move this a little, it's easier to see. Okay, here's my background. Here's my ghost. I'm going to take the output of the waviness, and I'm going to put that into my merge in the background. I'm going to let go, and now the ghost is in the scene here, which is cool. So one thing I want to do, you can see the ghost is now in my scene. It's going to, which is fine, but I want to make it move. So I'm going to add in a transform node. So I'll go to the beginning here, select my transform node, and going to go to put a keyframe in center and size, I think would be good. So, and I'm at the beginning, so I'm going to move my ghost back. Maybe I'll move him a little down here, a little center, something like that. And then I'll go to this frame, let's say just before he pulls out his tongue around here. At this time, I want to be here, want to put him a little bit down, and let's say something like that. Okay, so now we have like the animation. He floats towards us and goes with his tongue, and then that's basically what I want to do with him. Okay, so I also want to create a different look than this and than we have right now. I want to make this look like an old cartoon. So in this case, I'm actually going to blur my ghost a little bit, and I'll do that, but I can take a blur from here and just add that underneath the transform. And you can see I can go into the blur size, and I can make it very blurry, but that's not really what I want. So I'm just going to make it like a little bit, something like nearly nothing, 0.7 or something like that. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with my background. I'm going to take a blur, and I'm going to add that here. And now you can see I can blur the background as well. The background I'm going to blur a little bit more, maybe something like that, so it kind of fit together. And then one last thing I would like to do is actually to go into my media pool and have these grindhouse overlays. I'm just going to drag that in here. You can use any kind of overlays with black background, but in this case I'm just going to use this one here. I'm going to add that in as the last thing. So I'm just going to drag the output here to the merge number 8. And I'm going to put in a transform node again to make this fit. So in the transform, I'm just going to size this up so it fits the entire screen. And then I'll just go into the merge. And in the merge, I'll go into the apply mode and I'm going to change this into screen. So here we have it. So basically that is how we could do a animated ghost effect all the way from beginning to end. And of course you could use more time on the animation than I did, but just for the sake of this tutorial, this was what I came up with. And if you're interested in getting overlays and stuff like that, take a look down in the store. There is some great ones and free ones, so just take a look. Anyway, I do hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it with your friends if you think it would help them out. And if you want to be notified every time there's another video here at the channel, please hit that bell icon down in the corner. Until next time, keep filming, keep learning, and keep sharing.